What's going on, everybody? I'm Julie, and I'm the money chick, and I help people embody and live a life of real wealth. And what that means is that we have to connect to all the areas of our life, because really money is actually just the result of the relationships. Your health is the result of how it is that you're living from this soulful place, and even the work that you do in the world. And so today, Rita and I are going to be talking about your relationships again. Rita, tell everybody about yourself.
I'm a women's narcissist recovery coach. And what that means is I help women become more authentically themselves. I help them bring up all the wounds and ideas and memories that they buried and keep burying in their life. And I help them bring up to the surface so that they can be a whole, balanced person instead of cutting off half of their self. They're meant to be both masculine and feminine. They're meant to be selfish and selfless. We're meant to be both. And we tend to either go more towards one. The feminine tends to be more unconditional love. The masculine tends to be more conditional love, but neither one is bad. And women need to learn how to be more selfish.
Yeah, and you know what? I was raised Irish Catholic, and you know what? Selfish was meant you're bad. You're bad. Bad.
Mm-hmm. But if you talk to a lot of men and you ask them, I mean, people with a lot of masculine, and you ask them, they'll say,
Rita, I think we lost you there for a little minute.
Oh, did I come back? Dun, dun, dun. Am I back?
Shall we try this again?
Let's try this again.
Oh, excellent.
So what happened while I was gone?
You know what? I started talking, and then my whole screen went blank. So let's just start this again. So this is about self-love and self-care, and that it's okay.
You know, what's even more important is self-respect. We need to focus more on self-respect.
One of my David 𝙬𝙬🫪, who I do Awaken Your Spirit with on Tuesdays, I did an individual session with him this morning. And he starts to bring up to me how, with what's going on in my life since this solar eclipse has kind of flipped everything upside down in my world a little bit. And I'm sure most of you have had all kinds of old things come up in the last 4 days. So no, if that's happening to you guys, those of you who are watching, this is actually extremely normal. As much as it may make you feel like you're out of your skin, I need you to just breathe into it, right? And just be like, oh, it's coming up because it's leaving, right? And David 𝙬𝙬🫪 pointed out to me this morning that he said, Jewel, it's just about the fact that you need to acknowledge yourself. Remember? So what I've come to the conclusion is that what it is I say in my meditations, I approve of myself, I acknowledge myself, I respect myself, and I appreciate myself. Because if I can appreciate, respect, and honor myself, then that creates the space for other people to show up that way. Because other people can't show up that way for you if you don't do it for yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. Did I freeze?
Well, hello again.
Oh, hello again.
I'm like sitting here going, okay, well, all right. Well, I was just saying that for the last 6 weeks, I have been really putting in my meditations, because we live in a hologram, that I approve of myself, I appreciate myself, I love myself, and I respect myself, because I can't be acknowledged, respected, loved by anybody the way that I desire to be unless I do that for myself first. And then lo and behold, this week, that's exactly how it showed up in my world.
Well, you and I were talking before we started the live stream about how you and I have kind of been on pace. You know, I was a few steps ahead because I'm relationships, and and yours has been money. But with the transitions and changes that have happened through this pandemic, we've really doubled down on our own personal growth, and we got some new tools and new ways of doing these things. And so you and I have been going gangbusters this year, and we're finding that we get the same symptoms, let's say, of becoming more authentic. By getting the stress off of our body. Yeah, exactly. People are like, what's wrong with you? Are you having a mental breakdown? You know, why are you so crazy?
Like that.
And all the women that I'm talking to, yes, all the women every single woman that I work with, they're all like, no, you're finally just hearing me, because I'm finally not hiding it. And I'm being okay that I'm going to erupt like Mount Vesuvius right now. I'm okay that I'm going to be a hurricane. I'm all right with being an earthquake, because you've been doing it to me for a long time. And so I'm comfortable to express that side of me too. I mean, we are not just the meek, mild Hawaiian beaches. We are every aspect of nature that exists. So the big, seemingly dramatic, violent ones. And women are so emotional. I mean, we are, and it's good. We have way more emotions than men ever expect. And so they're constantly trying to control us so that we stop being emotional, when in reality, we're like, we're more emotional than you guys. Why are we letting you get away with this? It's the symptom of being authentic is that people start thinking that you're crazy, because you're becoming a different version of yourself that they're not familiar with, and they don't really know if they like it or not. And you don't even know if you like it or not, because you're like, I never thought I would lose my marbles like this. You know, I never thought that I would yell that loud. I never thought that I would hate that big.
Losing your marbles? Yeah, kind
of. Right. And every time we lose a bunch, every time we let a bunch drop, I feel stronger and we're centered and calmer. I'm like, let them drop on the floor. Let's go.
Yeah. You know, I remember, you know, I became Ayurvedic certified with the Chopra Center. And one of the things I learned in that training is that an emotion that comes up is an unmet need. And so years ago, when my emotions would come up, I'd be like, what's my unmet need? And it's interesting because now, like, I never even recognized that that was even an issue, but I have a mother who's very emotional, right? Like she cries at the drop of a hat. And I just remember when my kids, and I'm more left brain logical, and I remember I would say to my kids, I'd be like, what's your unmet need, honey? What do you need right now? Because you're being emotional. And I remember them just looking at me like, huh? And, you know, in my house growing up, it was like the emotions would just fly all over the damn place, you know, and it's okay for them to do what they need to do in the moment. Like there's no right or wrong on anything. But it's interesting to me that as I started to not only ask myself that question, but also ask my kids, like, then we're able to navigate through it more. Like even when like my 7-year-old is like, right now I can tell she's not processing her feelings and her emotions very well, because she's like having these outbursts. And I just sit there when she's in her outbursts and I go, honey, what's your need right now? What can I help you with? What do you need? And trying to find like language behind it, because we don't necessarily know how to put words to it, because we're becoming more vulnerable and more raw as this heart-based consciousness continues to unpack. And we're feeling it.
I am
Way deeper levels.
Yes. we're able to work on not just our lifetimes, but generational lifetimes. A lot of people are working on generational stuff. And
Yeah.
and I am way less tolerant and way more protective of my own well-being anymore, because that's really I'm like, no, I am not going to take the hit for what everybody else wants. I was reading about empaths earlier today, because obviously I'm super empathic, and one of the qualities of empaths is we feel our emotions and other people's emotions very physically, and we have to process through them, and we have to have a lot of time to process through them because we feel them, and we have to transmute them in some way. We can't ignore them or pretend they aren't there. And so even just acknowledging that this is how I work, that yes, I'm absorbing everybody else's emotions, and that's okay, but what I need is space then. And if people aren't going to respect my space, I can't keep sacrificing myself because I will die prematurely. I can't keep sacrificing myself. So instead, I need to be very clear about what I want in my life and what I don't want in my life.
That is a big, big statement. If you keep sacrificing, I want you guys who are listening to really hear this. If you keep sacrificing yourself, you will, I'm writing it down, you will die prematurely. And I can tell you, as I witness over and over again, I just had this conversation again with another client. I have witnessed when people do their job in the world or stay in marriages or relationships that are not authentic, meaning that you're not feeding your heart and soul in that relationship or the work that you do in the world, disease always develops in your body. Always. And that's why it's about us no longer sacrificing. That is a big statement, Rita. Big, 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 big.
Well, and it's something that we can learn from, I've clearly my specialty is narcissist and toxic relationships, which means that I've spent a lot of times mapping what makes somebody narcissistic, which we all are, by the way. We all have different levels.
We all have little parts of it, sure.
Right. And just it has to do with the degree and how we manage it. And one of the things that narcissists do is they put themselves authentically first in every single situation. And we may look at that, and this was my problem for a long time. I'd look at that and say, I would never be like that. I'm gonna sacrifice myself. I'm gonna be a martyr. I'm gonna be above this. I'm not gonna have any feelings. I'm not gonna be real. And it actually pissed a lot of people off in my life because they wanted me to be authentic, and I was going to be above them. And when they were authentic, then, even in dramatic, wrong, horrible, cruel ways, they were being authentic. And it's not that we need to vilify other people for doing what they need to do. We need to look at it kind of objectively, get the gold from it, and say, what can they teach me? And what narcissistic personalities can teach you is that if you don't put yourself first, you're going to die. So you have to put yourself first in a number of situations and get back into balance.
Yeah, that's so true. Wow. That's so, so true. And I think I can think back to so many examples of that in my lifetime. And I do want to point out that is true, whether it's in, I think of earlier bosses that I have at work, they would play those roles, no different than boyfriends or, people I've been with in relationship over time, or, in even family members. Like, you learn to put up with things because you're exposed to it somewhere in your childhood. And that's because those traumas or experiences that you had lead to why you've continued to play that out. And I think one of the things that I pointed out to someone yesterday, I'm like, no, this isn't really about just me, because we are the creators of our lives. And when you're in relationship with somebody, you co-create that shit. You know what? All of you that are sitting here going, but they did this and he did that, and those could be all valid points, but you have got to take your ego and check it a little bit, because you chose to play the role so that those things actually came out in the package that they did. And that was a very sobering thing for me to admit, because Julie's a perfectionist. Julie likes to have her shit together. Julie likes it, just as tight as my hair is back and together, like.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was a few years back. That was really hard to sit there and go, oh, I co-created that. Sobering, very sobering.
But your digestion is better.
Okay. Oh my God, that's the funniest part, right? So I wound up with this terrible leaky gut in my physical body because of all that. And the minute I started holding healthy boundaries for myself,
surprise, your body was able to heal itself.
I get very this is going to sound funny, but I get very excited today that I can go number 2 on a regular and consistent basis now. Right. Because my body would lock up and it would be like once a week. That's how bad I was not digesting how I was living my life in relationship.
Yes. Yes.
And I had no idea that it was having that kind of physical impact. I just figured maybe this is just the way my body is, except for the fact that it's like almost totally reversed.
Right. And that's what happens. When we start blending the masculine action, me first attitude with the feminine, unconditional love, community attitude, we need both. We have to stop pointing fingers and blaming and shaming the other side, and instead saying, what can I learn from you that would make me a better person? And we have to have both the Mount Vesuvius, both the goddess with the lightning bolt, as well as the soft, nurturing one. And that's what confuses people, is because when we start to be more authentic, we show more of those sides of us. We stop being the one person that everybody wants to see. And now they have to cope with the fact that we're 20 different people. We're 20 different aspects of our side. We're virgin, we're crone, we're wise woman, we're toad under a rock, whatever. We are women, especially. We have so many different aspects to ourselves. We are not one thing. And yes, we can be integrated, but that integration is still, it's like a jewel. You don't just look at one facet of the jewel. It's got all these cuts in it. And depending upon how you look at it, it looks differently. And we have to be allowed to have all those different moods and attitudes and energies without feeling like we have to be one thing in order to keep everybody around us happy.
So true. Yeah, because you have to be happy. You have to choose you. And you have to decide that that's what you want, and somewhere along the boat, I decided to do that. And I had somebody say to me, why didn't you choose this earlier? And I'm like, because I knew the ripple effect and some of the things I would have to go through.
And I wasn't ready for it yet.
Whoa.
I wasn't strong enough. I didn't have enough support. And I
years to get to that place.
Yeah.
15 years. Because I remember one of my friends said to me, when was the first time that you thought you made a mistake getting into the marriage that you got into? And I knew exactly that day. And it was within the first 4 months of me being married. And I was going, what did I get into? Because all of a sudden I was starting to see things that I didn't see beforehand.
Right. Because like with my husband, when my husband got married, he became a different person. It was weird. Suddenly, like the act of getting married was did we lose each other again? Ta-da!
There we are. Boy,
Here
we
we
must
are.
really be having some great information to get to people today, because lower vibrations are trying to interrupt our service today.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thanks for hanging on with us. You know, this is how it happens in life. Like, just know that as you start taking steps forward, crazy things like even like the Zoom not working right actually is part of how everything's vibrational. And so I have found that the closer I get to the work of really helping people unpack stuff, the other things energetically try to interfere. So it's super interesting to me, because we're getting really the crux, and we're hitting home with some people, because we've got great chats going on here about, you know, Sue White has said, you know, as a seer, I literally saw my spouse doing narcissistic shit in the future, and I went and stayed anyway. And it's like, you know what? So many of us have done that. So many of us. And I think a big part of this process is we just need to observe that. We don't need to judge it. We don't need to put blame or shame ourselves. It's just going, okay, I did.
Who is this encouraging me to be? What is this experience encouraging me to step into?
Right?
You know, and when we look at every moment, we can look at every moment as in, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. How am I going to deal with this? Or we can look at every moment as in, what's the opportunity in this moment? No matter how ugly it feels or looks, what's the opportunity? And sometimes that opportunity is stepping into your authentic voice about how you really feel about something, and voicing it and expressing it. And maybe it looks like, you know, like you're losing your marbles. Maybe it looks like you're going to go car bomb somebody any second. But we have to break out of that nice woman story and realize that we don't do anybody any good if we stay there. And what narcissists do is they help you break out of the nice woman story, because if you don't, they'll kill you.
My ex-husband, that is the greatest gift he has given me, is that Julie was finally exposed for having a shitty marriage, and it was out there. And it was like, that was the part of my life that wasn't together. And it was the greatest gift he gave me, the greatest gift, because I have This is today. I was just going to say, I had a good friend in Sedona say to me, Julie, the days of the fighting Irish are over. Because I'm Irish and I went to Notre Dame. So the days of the fighting Irish are over. And so, Lisa, I would just like to say to you that, you know what? Don't give up. But the new way of doing this is not fighting your way through it. Right? This is not about fighting. Fighting is the masculine energy. It's the push. It's like, that's how we've operated up to this point. And a lot of us have been successful in our lives for doing that. Push to the next level, never give up, like, oh, strong. You know, I think of that woman who's back in the, you know, back in the wartime, she's got the bandana on her head and it's like, women work. She's like, everyone knows that picture. And those days are over. This is actually us being the perfect version in our feminine and allowing ourselves to hold our intentions, hold what we want to create in our lives, and then allow ourselves to receive that as it shows up. And so the giving up pieces, I really want to stress to people that it's not about the fight. The giving up pieces is just about continuing to hold the dream, continuing to hold what your ideal world is. You know, like I am in a new relationship and I continue to keep holding the space for the family life that I really want to create. And I just keep holding that vision, and it's been a road, but it's been a beautiful road of growth and expansion together. And it's been amazing and it's been beautiful. So different. Whereas before I would just try to fight my way through it. It's like, no, 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 no.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we need a subtle distinction, you know, because sometimes not fighting looks like you're fighting.
Mm.
You know, what we're trying to say is you stop fighting yourself.
Oh, beautiful.
You know, we
Yeah.
stop fighting our inner things which keep us nice women but keep us small. And we have to stop fighting those things, and we have to acknowledge that we are strong. We have a strong voice. We deserve
Right.
equality. We deserve to be treated well. We deserve all the same things that everyone's required of us to give them.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have to require them to give it back to us. We have
Right.
to respect ourselves so other people respect us. And so I got into Native American spirituality, and it was very patriarchal at the time. And so the message was, well, you just need to be nicer to everybody, which was perfect. That was my dogma. You just got to be nice. Just be a nice person. No matter what, you got to be a nice person. And so that worked well for me at the time, but it didn't help me grow, because my problem wasn't that I needed to be a nice person. My problem was that I needed to be a strong person, not just resilient. I had to be tough. I had to stand up for myself. I had to kind of wade in there sometimes and say, enough, we're done. Did you lose me? Because you're frozen. Huh.
I think it's interesting.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, we need to not just be fluffy bunny.
You know,
Everybody's nice. We actually need
I
to
would
be tough
love to
anymore.
yeah. You know, Sue gave a really great comment here. She said, I had high hopes that they would beat their own shadow. And Sue, I couldn't agree with you more. Like I was like, okay, but we can do this and you can get to this place. And like I fully understand that it was like you hold space, but you know what? Here's the thing. They either step into it or they don't. The question is do you choose you at some juncture? You know, because I've learned that in new relationship that I still held the intention for what it was I wanted to create in my life. And that whether that person decided or came into being into that place or did not, whether you love them or not, you know, you have to still go.
Hi, I've missed you.
Are you still waiting for me? I like literally on my phone was like trying to see. I switched my internet line, so hopefully this helps.
Okay. Good. Good.
um, but you know, I just really feel like, you know, yes, Susan just said on here, I think the universe is having some fun today. There's no doubt.
The energies are high, and if anybody, I know it's been happening in my life, it's been happening in your life. Things, you know, little things are blowing up, and we can either take them on and try to fix them, which will make us crazy, or we can say, wow, that's life. The volcano just exploded. How interesting. What do we want to do now? You know,
Yeah.
it's our level of detachment that helps.
Well, and I remember that detachment piece is like, how do I get there? How do I get to detach? And I couldn't really, it was really, I now know it's about being the observer of when these things come up and be the observer of when they happen, as opposed to the reactor. So it's like, if you find yourself, you guys, that you're still in this energy of reacting, it's about use some of these tools in some of our other videos, Rita, that we talked about, right? Of getting yourself out of reacting and into observing, because you can't really detach when you're reacting.
Well, and I want to make a slight distinction. You can also observe the reaction, and that's kind of, you know what I mean? That's what we're really talking about. We're not talking about shutting down the reaction. We're talking about being able to observe the reaction and have the reaction and do the reaction. Fine, blow the car up. Do it. Watch yourself do it and say, wow, okay, what do I want to do now? I mean, you don't actually have to go that far, but you can allow yourself the permission to have that level of reaction inside of yourself, because you can't stop it. You're going to react. You have to allow it and observe the fact that you're doing this and wonder why the hell you're doing it. I wonder why that had to happen. Maybe somebody really needed me to blow up at them right now. That's interesting, because that's not normally my temperament.
That exact thing happened to me yesterday.
Yeah, tell me about it. I want to hear it.
Well, no. So I was with someone, and they thought that it would be funny to scare me, like come up behind me, and I've been working on regulating my nervous system ever since I had gotten out of my marriage. And it jarred me back to the worst place that I had ever been from my PTSD. And I was like, I told you this before, like, please do not do that. Like it. And I go, nobody did anything right. Nobody did anything wrong. I just am trying to increase awareness. I can't do that anymore. I can't like, I understand that you're trying to be playful and funny, but that's not funny for me. Not 1 ounce of it's funny.
Right. You know, it reminds me of all those stories of little girls who are playing in games, or, you know, people are tickling them or whatever. And they're told that they have to ignore the rights of their own body. They have to ignore their own rights because they're just playing. It's okay. Even though the girl may feel touched happened with you.
Yep.
You know, no, this is okay. This is all you. You took it wrong. You were the one who overreacted. Your feelings don't matter. I mean, that was the reality of what you were taught. And then we just kept on with it. And that's the lie. That's the lie. Your feelings do matter. They matter a lot.
Right. And I was just saying, like, okay, well, and I literally facilitated in a manner with this person that I was saying, you know what? I go, you just have to decide whether or not, now that I brought awareness to it, are you going to work on shifting that? Because it's not okay for me. Like, you can choose
if you keep doing it, I'm going to punch you in the jaw. Yeah.
Well, or I'm just not going to spend time with you anymore.
Right. Right.
Like I'm not going to spend time because I don't like getting my nervous system hijacked.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I understand I have my piece of the work to do. I get it. Right.
You have to respect.
Right. And so, and I really take it from a place of the universe provides us these beautiful examples, and it's almost like lab class in college, right? And it's like, you get to work it out in lab class and,
it's the same
and
thing.
see how it goes. Right. And it's like, but it's beautiful. I mean, as you work through it, when you have someone who truly cares about you and observes it and can join you in that. And if they don't, it's also okay if they vibrate away from you. You know, and that's one of the biggest things that I continue to see in my life, that, you know, I have some friends that, you know what, those relationships left when my marriage left, because they were playing the same role in my life as my ex-husband was. And you know what? Again, I am way better off because I learned from those people. And it was beautiful. I am a better version of myself because of all those people. And I'm grateful.
And they're a better version of themselves because of you.
Yeah,
You know,
right?
one of the things that comes up for me that was a real twister in my head was, and this happened when I was in massage school. This was the first time that I was kind of pinged with it. Someone was giving me a massage and he was giving me the creeps. And so I stopped it and I said, you know what, I'm feeling uncomfortable. I need to stop this. And, you know, he was slightly offended, you know, but I was like, no, I refuse to continue to tolerate having my skin crawl. You know, it's nobody's fault, but
Right.
there it is. And so I went to my mentor and said, hey, this happened. And she said, when you allow someone to victimize you, you turn them into a bully. And nobody really wants to be a bully. See, everybody wants to be a good guy. Everybody wants to be a good person, but they don't know how to respect you unless you communicate what you need to be respected in a way they can hear you. Sometimes it's at the top of your voice. Sometimes it's, you know, throwing a tantrum. Sometimes it's shoveling their driveway. Whatever it is, you have to keep trying to communicate because they really want to know.
Right.
They don't want to be a jerk. They don't want to be a narcissist. They don't want to be a bad guy. And sometimes they just need different kinds of communication, just like with children. You know, when we communicate with children, we have patience with them and they're like, well, let me try to explain it to you this way. Now does it work? Now do you hear me? And many times you have to match their energetic vibration, even if it doesn't match your own, to communicate. You have to communicate with them in a way they can hear you, and then you can change the conversation.
Right. Yeah.
So there's nothing bad or wrong about our feelings and reactions or even expressing them. In fact, it's more wrong to not express them.
Right. And because I, you know, yesterday it was very much so in a place of, you know what? I really wanted to hold the space of, even though my nervous system was hijacked, that nobody did anything right or wrong.
Exactly.
Like we really, like, this whole heart-based consciousness movement is about moving out of right and wrong, moving out of, and trust me, Julie 1.0 wanted always to be right. Like I would hold the line to be right all the time. And if you ask me, I was.
And I am right. I'm right about everything.
And now I've gone through so much that it's like, I don't care if I'm right anymore. It's just about, I want to be authentic and I don't have to prove anything to anybody anymore, because we only try to prove things when we're feeling not enough or our unworthy button is being pressed. And that's our own stuff. It's not anybody else's stuff.
But all that stuff's really complex. I mean, what you and I are talking about is not actually where a lot of people are. A lot of people are still on the, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm angry, I hurt, I don't know what to do, this is scary, I'm uncertain. You know, a lot of people, and even if you've done a lot of your own work, we have to realize that most people have not done their inner work. And because of that, we need to not be judgmental of where they're at, of what they're working through, because on some area, they are way more evolved than we are. You know, we're just happen to have more experience in things that they don't have as much experience with yet. It's no big deal. But that compassion comes when you realize that that people are very confused, they're very scared, they're very anxious, and they don't know what to do about it, and they don't have the tools. And because of that, we have to try to figure out how to communicate. It's amazing we get along with anybody ever. Two entirely different universes everybody lives in. You know?
That is true. And that's really something to be the observer of, right? And just be like, oh, okay, well, you're on your path and I'm on mine. Again, not right or wrong. It just is.
Yes. Yeah. It makes life easier when you can recognize that we're all individuals who are interconnected instead of we're all the same thing and we don't have any uniqueness, because we're as unique as our fingerprint, as a snowflake.
That's beautiful. Well, I am grateful for everyone. I love the interaction that everyone had today on our scroll. You know what? We really want to help and we really want to build a community here on Thursdays. So I would love if you guys could continue to comment, because we want to meet you where you guys are at in this process. So Sue, Karen, you know, thanks so much. Susan, all of you guys, Lisa, thank you for the discussion. Thank you for bringing that, because you know what? It is super important for us women to show up and communicate, and because the men are having a hard time too, right? And if we don't start to unpack this stuff, and some of us are farther ahead on our journey than other ones of us, you know, I mean, I never thought in a million years, me being the money chick, that I'd be sitting here talking about relationships. But you know what? We either work things out and we act it out. We do it through our health, through our money, and through our relationships. And they're all correlated. And so this is about all of us getting to this place of real wealth and real, true, deep happiness in our lives. And the way we can do that is by continuing the discussion. And so please join us again next Thursday is the holiday. It's Christmas Eve.
Right. So we won't do next Thursday.
We won't be doing next week. And so it's actually, Rita, I'm out of the country. I've decided to go out of the country for 2 days after Christmas. So it'll be 3 weeks from now where our next live is in January.
Okay.
And so, because I don't know if my internet connection will work in the Bahamas.
Well, and I'm getting ready for a challenge. I'm doing the second challenge. You were part of the first one, which was awesome. We had dozens of speakers, and the idea, it's all based on the science of healing, which is you need new information. You need to get rid of the emotional blocks around the new information, and you need to process through what gets uncovered so you can take a positive next step.
Yep.
It's a very easy process. And so what we're doing is we're providing dozens of 20 to 30-minute conversations that are creative dialogues. You know, we see what comes up, just like with you and me, around topics having to do with health, wealth, money, family, intuition, and then also having to do with the body and emotions and mind and ideas and environment. And you never know what cosmic soup that kind of creates when we say, okay, we need something on wealth and the body, go. You know, and then we come up with a great topic and a great dialogue, you know, that's easy and fun and gentle.
Yeah,
and
it's got to be easy and fun. We've all suffered enough.
And so the challenge is to work on different areas of your life. Because if you make change 1%, just 1% change in multiple areas of your life, like we're going to do in that first week during the challenge, your whole life takes a pivot, shifts, because all those different areas work together, like plant growing, sunshine and fertilizer and whatnot. So we're challenging women to start their year off right, to create a peaceful home for themselves, inside themselves, for the new year. And we've got a science-based way to do it that is all about intuition and fun and creativity and conversation. And it doesn't look anything that's scientific. It just looks like we're having a really good time. And but it's done with intention. So I want people to join us. Look for Rita Hickman and Friends 7-Day Challenge. Type that into Facebook. You'll find me. Join. We're doing a registration, so you'll need to register so you can get the email updates. And we're going to do this. We had 80 women last time, and so we'll start with that 80 again, and then we're just going to keep adding on to build this community. So I hope you'll be a part of the next one.
Absolutely, yeah. I get back to town on January 4th, so.
Oh, perfect. Yes,
yeah.
It's that week. It's the
awesome.
week of January 4th. So good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, cool, so thanks. January 7th is our next Awaken Your Relationships. And thanks, everybody. And we're here to help. So either juliemurphy.com or it's ritahickmancoaching.com now, right?
Yep, ritahickmancoaching.com.
Yeah, so we are here to help on your journey to more happiness and more abundance and more of a life that you love. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll talk to you soon. Mwah!
Thanks, Julie.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.